The second unit of the Elizabethan England topic is called Life in Elizabethan England, and simply enough, we're studying what life was like. It's a much more general face of history. We're not looking at single people with names and actions they take, but we're looking at the experiences of larger groups of people. And a nice way to imagine this area, or this statement, is to imagine this phrase that, to be honest, we've come up with again and again and again in History GCSE, which is this idea of times being a golden age, a time where everything is good, there's money, there's success for everybody. And it's not, when we bring this up, it's not that it's exactly true, but it's a statement, it's an example that we can either argue for or argue against. So we are looking at people, we are looking at the ways they work and the things they do, and frankly, we're trying to prove whether a golden age was actually happening during the time periods prescribed. Now, the first group we're going to start talking about, at least with this video, is the rich, the lives of rich people. Nowadays, rich people, if you imagine, are millionaires, billionaires, luxury. But back in, should we say, Elizabethan times, there were different classes to rich. There was a familial element, there was a job to it. So let's go into that. The three groups of people, the words that are used are these: nobility, gentry, peasantry. You might remember what they are, but I'll go through each of them and what they essentially do. See, the nobility or nobles are essentially your groups, the top flight of Elizabethan society. These are the ones that you'll have heard the names like Duke or Earl or Baron. These are the wealthiest ones in society. They have family connections that go back generations that connect them to money. They have been given titles by the Queen, most likely, which means they are in her inner circle. You ever watch TV shows and there's people like all about the Queen, all these rich people, they're all trying to be part of this nobility, this influential group that essentially make most of the money in the country at this time. Now, the thing is, they aren't the only rich people, which is the strange element, because this gentry element did not come from old money. Gentry, I would say, is described more as landowners. As much as nobility own land, other people can enter this by becoming fairly successful. Trading and economic success could buy you some sort of land and enter you this, should we call it, new age of rich person, the gentry. They had significantly less money, but there was more and more and more of them during the Elizabethan times because the country was stable. England was not at war, the economy was going well, so more and more people could, should we say, raise themselves out of poverty and into this gentry level. Anyone else falls into this area of peasantry. These are farm labourers and arguably the poorest in society, but most people, I would say 75% of people, would be in this bracket. They are the ones that arguably should be looked after. And that's the strange thing. Elizabethan England, as much as this sounds, should we say, not very, should we say, successful or not very golden age, the thing is, it is. See, the phrase, this thing called the Great Chain of Being, is an idea expressed about what your place in society is. It's not just the Bible telling people that the life they should be living is this, but actually they believe there was a hierarchy to the world. Not just, should we say, God and humans or even animals, but that people in general were ranked according to their status in society. See, at the top, we can imagine, is God. Religion is ultra important this time, so God is seen as the highest order. Angels become second, which actually also have their own ranking of importance, but we don't need to go into that. But then it's the monarch, and if you can't remember what monarch means, that is Elizabeth. King or queen is the monarch of the country, and Elizabeth's job has essentially been granted to her by God. We all watched the coronation recently, and they swear by God that they are basically chosen to be leader. And Elizabeth therefore has the responsibility of everyone underneath her. Her direct responsibility, according to the chain of being, is the nobility, right? These titled men and families that she chooses to engage herself with and chooses to invite into this group that she looks after. The nobility then feel a responsibility for the ones beneath them, which is the gentry, this group of people, this rich people that could influence further out the country, this chain of being. The gentry in turn then, owning the land that the peasantry live on, are responsible for these people to make sure that they are okay. After this comes animals, after this comes plants, and then finally it's even rocks. But if you can remember the idea of the great chain of being and the different levels of society, including the nobility and even examples of their wealth, like buying rich houses, wearing silly makeup and clothes and ruffs and going to the theatre, you will be absolutely dead certain of this topic to revise. But yeah, thank you for listening.